Okay, we're going to move into the next session now so that we can wrap up for the day. And so I think what we'd like to do is summarize, as we did yesterday, and look forward and preview tomorrow.
Go down the line?
Sure.
So I just want to thank Daniel for the last session, a very stimulating session, I thought, and he didn't tell the co-chairs what he was going to do, but I think it was a very good idea. So thank you. Yeah, from my perspective, I've really gotten a lot today. A broad overview, I think, of the gaps, and we come at it a little bit differently, perhaps, from BARDA in that while I don't disregard the importance of surveillance and all that, we came into the program supporting WHO, which had already developed a program to identify the vaccine manufacturers that did have a shot at developing an influenza vaccine. But I think the idea that Daniel made about sustainability, which is the first word, is key. And if you want it sustainable, you're going to have to deal with the other aspects beyond the sort of technical aspects that our group is involved in. And so I appreciate all the comments from yesterday and today. And I don't really have anything to add, so I'll pass it on to Mary Paul, except I agree with Mary Paul that WHO should get more money to to continue and expand the program that they have.
And what you don't know, everyone who haven't put this as a priority will have to reset. No, I would like also to thank Daniel. Indeed, as Mike said, we were not aware of how he wanted to handle this session. I think it's very inspiring, I guess, for us all. The next time we want to write a strategic plan, we take an audience, we close the door, and we have them write the strategic plan. So thank you very much, Daniel. I think it was a good initiative. So we really have to see, there has been quite a number of people speaking up. As usual in large groups, some others are more shy, I'd say, and don't speak up so much. So it will give us really an excellent opportunity to see what is the real thinking of all of the people who attended the workshop and who have seen and listened and participated in the discussion of the various aspects about lab surveillance, preparedness, capacity, regulatory, and really tried with your advice to identify the main gaps and the main priorities for the years to come. So it is really, I think it will help us debrief and have a successful outcome of the workshop, not to have only a nice impression. We came, we met, it was a nice group, enjoyable time, but at the end there will be a tangible product. So I think I would like to thank both Daniel and also all of you for having participated to this in this exercise.
Yeah, just one more thing is that I meant to say was that I really look forward to tomorrow, because I think we have a tremendous program with the speakers and the representation that we have tomorrow. So I'm sure Daniel will say more about that, but I do look forward to that.
I'm not sure how much I'm supposed to summarize here because I wasn't here yesterday. So anyway, really, but and I'm not going to be here tomorrow either. Unfortunately, it's just one of these sort of things. But I thought the regulatory session was quite a good one. I think we did it on the back of an envelope, really. To be honest with you, we sort of put it together at the very last minute. So, but I think we did try to set out the importance of the complexities of regulatory oversight of quality, safety, and efficacy of vaccines in particular. They're all biologics, and so they're very complex production processes and such like. The need for regulatory infrastructure, for laboratory access and experience was very important here, as well as post-market surveillance. None of this comes cheaply. I mean, you have to build up experience here and invest in it. There's nothing that just happens just overnight. Then we discussed how to sort of gauge the competency of different agencies, and WHO criteria already exist for this. They're already in place for a long time. We heard from David Wood. about the system for pre-qualification and such like. And this has been going on for a long time. And then when gaps are identified, how do you address those gaps? Very clearly there are no quick fixes here, and it does take time to do this, there's no question about that. But there are ways of moving forward by getting the support of the experienced regulators. And we heard how Canada, for example, was supporting the NRA in India, but not on the flu vaccine. And this is the point that was made, that it's not just in flu vaccines that's important, it's the whole infrastructure is important, really. So supporting the infrastructure for the regulatory part was important. We also heard how some of the regions are now moving forward to start production of vaccines, or how they're going to move and implement pandemic vaccines. And it was quite clear that in the PAHO region, this must be coupled as well with strengthening of regulatory agencies where needed. It may not be in all cases. In the discussion, we did cover importance of post-market surveillance, because we realized that this is an important area, because loss of confidence in a vaccine, it doesn't just the flu, it impacts the whole lot, and it's international as well. So monitoring is not just a case of licensing, but it's an ongoing activity. It's questionable whether all agencies should become FDAs. It was never the intention anyway. But you need to build certain agencies up, but everybody will never get there, and they haven't got the resources for this. This is not the case at all. And the idea was put forward that there's the support from a network of agencies, and we heard how in Europe the system is operating, where there's twinning with the stronger or the more experienced agencies helping the less experienced. So this is a way forward, and also in PAHO, networks have been established for post-market surveillance and such like. So this is an area which needs exploring. I think that we're looking for, not just for getting all the agencies up to one big level, but you need to have networks where you can actually interact. So it's a case of getting competency up there, but also to sustain it. It's not, you just don't get it up there and leave it there. You have to keep on investing in it really all the time. And finally, we did just touch very briefly on how to introduce the new technologies, and there was some concern that introduction of new technologies in developing country scenarios, there's a risk there. And I think the point again there was that if manufacturers are going for that direction, then these agencies should seek the support of the more experienced, because there are risks in moving forward, both for the product as well as for the population. Because something which might fail, with the proper regulatory guidance may well be okay, but I think it's a case of moving forward on that area really. And so the take-home message really was that yes, we hope the take-home message was that it got through, that the regulatory aspect is a very key component of moving forward into sustainable influenza vaccine production.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I can't possibly match that.
Well, I wasn't sure what I was supposed to say.
But this was a very comprehensive review of I think, most of the topics that we talked about today. One very key point that was made in a couple of the sessions today is that it is thanks to the response to H5N1 that we have been able to make quite a bit of progress in developing the surveillance and response systems in developing countries, and also in generating some initial demand for the vaccine. And this response is it's certainly not in the limelight the way it was 4 or 5 years ago. So I think the big challenge that we as the international community face is how do we get a momentum into strengthening of systems in developing countries without the urgency of an imminent pandemic. I mean, are we going to be able to get the support? I think there was a mention of support needed for WHO, but also, and maybe even more so, there is a support needed by developing countries to build their own systems, because the international technical agencies can only, cannot substitute for the systems that have to be built in the countries. So that's sort of the two key points that I got out of today. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, things that people would like to highlight as take-home messages from today's presentations? Okay. Looking ahead to tomorrow, we'll start again at 8:30. And we are focusing, our theme tomorrow is on partnerships. And we'll be hearing about potential stakeholder roles and incentives to participate in this effort. In increasing demand, we've talked a lot about need for increasing demand, and securing the political support necessary to achieve our goals, as well as strategies to identify and engage new stakeholders. So we look forward to those discussions, and have a good evening. Thank you all.